The time has finally arrived. It is draft week here in the NFL offseason calendar as we welcome you back in to the Just Beavin podcast. Andy, JP here with you. This is mock draft 3.0, the 2026 draft, our final mock draft. We are recording this on Monday, the 20th. The draft is this Thursday. JP, we finally made it. The last couple of weeks, we've texted every Thursday, 2 weeks till we're there, 1 week till we're there. We have arrived just a few days away from probably the most exciting weekend of the entire NFL offseason.
Yeah, it is especially exciting. The countdown, it felt like it was taking forever this year. I don't know if it was just the process or a long winter or what, but it felt like it was taking us forever to get here. And I think it was Zip who said it the other day, but as Bears fans, this is the first time in a while I feel like I have absolutely no clue what we're going to do in the draft.
Yeah, who even know? I mean, the Bears they're at 25 right now, and we'll spoil. We do have the Bears making their selection here, but the Bears may not even they may move out of the first round. We have no idea. It's weird territory for us as Bears fans to be in. This has got to be the latest we've made a selection in the last decade plus. I mean, normally the Bears are in the top 10, top 15. Weird territory to be in. We for this mock draft, if you can see on the left-hand corner of your screen, there's a couple of teams in the top nine that weren't there that aren't there right now. JP and I have made a couple of trades. We can explain those. And there was also a trade made in the NFL over the weekend that has impacted a top 10 pick. JP, before we dive in, where do we want to start? Do we want to talk about our trades that we've made or the trade that involved a top 10 pick being dealt straight up for a player in the league that hasn't happened since the 1960s?
Yeah, let's discuss Dexter Lawrence getting
Yeah.
shipped over to Cincinnati. I was out to dinner when I got actually I was out at dinner and a kid at the table next to me was like, "Dad, Dexter Lawrence just got traded to the Giants." And I was like, "What?" What? I whipped my phone out. I was like, "Oh my God, for the 10th overall pick and they got nothing back, no kickbacks or
Yeah.
anything." I couldn't believe that. I get they're trying to extend the window, but my God, just the 10th overall pick, what an overpay.
Very Bengals-esque move, especially in a draft where there's a plethora of defensive talent. And we even said this before I hit the record button. JP brought up Cincy, if they really wanted to, they could have moved down and taken one of the D tackles in the teens and the 20s of the first round. This is a good defensive tackle class, both at the top and depth wise. But hey, they're going all in. They're pushing their chips to the middle with Joe Burrow. He's not getting any younger. This offense isn't getting any younger. They want to go win now. We look to our trades. Arizona and Kansas City making a swap. We have the Chiefs coming up from 9-3. They're going to give up both of their ones, the ninth overall pick and the 29th overall pick. We talk about it when doing this mock draft, JP. Kansas City has not had a top 10 pick in a very long time. We think they're going to be super aggressive and trying to add a real blue chip, big time player to their crop.
Yeah, and I think getting that second one from LA has really allowed them to be flexible. They're allowed to overpay if they want to move up. They're allowed to sit if they want to sit and use both selections. But I think them moving up to three benefits both them and Arizona. Kansas City now gets their pick of if they want Bailey, if Reese falls, if they want Bain or Bain. And then for Kansas or for Arizona, now they get two selections and they don't have to make that choice where everyone's been kind of talking about what are they going to do at three? Is it Love? Is it a lineman? Is it a D lineman? What are they going to do? And I think this kind of answers some questions for them at nine.
Yeah, and Arizona, it's kind of in a weird spot, right? They need more than just, one big time guy to step in. And by acquiring another pick in this first round, they can go get a couple of real game changers for them. And they're kind of in a difficult position at three. They're just out on the quarterback market. They're going to roll with Jacoby Brissett, who may or may not be holding out for a contract, which is kind of wild given that situation. Three is probably a bit too high to take an offensive lineman. They need another tackle on the opposite side of Paris Johnson. How do they feel about the defensive side of the board at three? They don't know. This allows them to reset, gain that extra pick, and make another selection. And of course, we can't have Jerry Jones being too quiet. Dallas holding picks number 12 and 20. We have the Cowboys swapping with Cleveland. They're going to move up to 6 from 12. Cleveland's going to get picked 12. And future considerations, we're obviously only operating inside the first round here. So there's going to be more going back to Cleveland than just a swap to move up 6 spots. But we didn't feel comfortable giving both picks 12 and 20 to Cleveland for the 6th spot. That would have felt like too much on Dallas's end, moving up that many positions into the first round. Makes sense, JP. Cleveland, they're always in need of draft assets. They have a lot on their table in terms of rebuilding this on the way forward. They can still get someone really solid at 12. They will hold picks 12 and 24 in this opening round. And obviously, whatever future considerations were to come from this hypothetical trade.
Yeah, kind of the same thing I said about Arizona, but with Cleveland now. Now they can let one of those wide receivers fall into their lap at 12, and if they prefer one of the linemen, then they can take one of them at 12, and they still have 24 on the back end. Plus, they need so much help on the offensive side of the ball that they really just need a plethora of picks versus one great pick. So,
Yeah, and that could either be a second or a third in this year's draft, next year's draft. Like I said, we're only operating inside the first round, and we don't know the exact values of what that would all entail. But at least the big asset straight up will be 12 for 6. If you've tuned in to our first two mock drafts, you'll know that JP picked the odds in our first draft. I took the evens, and then we switched for 2.0. We're back to our old format for our final mock draft. JP will be taking the odds. I will be taking the evens, and JP's not going to waste any time with Vegas's pick at number one. It's just like Groundhog's Day all over again. We really don't have much to say other than Fernando Mendoza will be rocking the Raiders uniform on Thursday night.
yeah, I got him as the 17th overall prospect in the class, the number one quarterback. Not much else to say.
Yeah, and we're going to keep things pretty straightforward at number two with the Jets. They're standing pat. They're going to take Arvell Reese. This has been the pick we've made, I believe, every time we've done this draft. I don't think we've wavered from that here. Same old guy, versatile. He can play out on the edge. They can have be a true linebacker. It's something that this Jets coaching staff and front office are really going to operate with. He's joining Aaron Glenn, a defensive-minded head coach who is very much coaching for his job this season. Definitely probably the more intriguing defensive prospect in terms of upside on the board here in this class. At three now, we get out of the top two very quickly, but what else is there to say? Our first of the two trades that we made, JP. KC coming up from the ninth pick to make a splash.
Yeah, and I think I feel like a broken record, but we would say the same thing about Tennessee and in Arizona here. If Kansas City moves up, I think it's to take David Bailey. I think this is to secure David Bailey. I think there's potential that Bain is there at 9. So the only way I would see them coming up is to take Bailey. Now, I'm going to take Bailey, but I hope to God in real life they take Bain. I just think them moving up here would be to secure yeah, Bailey. I think Bailey'd be gone by 9. He could go to Tennessee easily. He could go to Cleveland at 6, honestly. He could go to Washington at 7, whereas Bain, I think I know the turmoil, everything that's came out with him. I know the teams already knew about that, but I'm still sure teams would be cautious about that mixed with the arms. You'd have better chance of Bain being at 9 than I think you do Bailey.
Yeah, either way, no matter which one you get on the other side of Karlaftis, Chris Jones in the middle. I mean, Karlaftis has been a really nice piece since they took him out of Purdue a few years ago, getting really good edge rushers on both sides. Chris Jones getting a bit older, but that defensive line, very scary if you pair one of those young guys up with Karlaftis and Jones. I think this makes the up front on the defensive end even more deadly for Kansas City and just trying to get a fresher look on the defensive side of the ball. I'm all for it. We said it when they're picking at 9. I think we had to take Jordan Tyson in both of our first two mock drafts. When are you able to get a guy of this caliber, blue chip prospect for the team with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback and that entire surrounding cast? Same to be said on the defensive end. When are you going to have the opportunity to move up and get a guy like Reuben Bain or a guy like David Bailey in the top 10 and the top 3 of a draft? You absolutely have to capitalize in every way possible. I think if they were to move up here, they would be pretty confident that Reuben Bain may or may not be there at 9. If they're not totally confident that he'll be there at 9 and they want a guy more steady like David Bailey, they'll do that. But I'll second JP. I think Bain's the better prospect. Him and I have voiced our opinion on these mock draft episodes that Reuben Bain is the defensive guy in this draft. Seems like every year there's the go-to prospect that sometimes people overthink, and I think that'll be the case in this draft where Bain falls outside of the top 5 and people look back and be like, how is this possible with how good of a talent that he is. Tennessee at 4 is an odd one. I will disclose when we were talking Dallas moving up, we mentioned the Titans as well as a possible option. They're in a really weird spot. They would be a good, pick for Reese or Bailey. They're both off the board. Do we think Bain works here? I don't really know. This feels like, and to us, this feels like a perfect spot for Bain, but to the consensus and to the draft experts and all the analysis and the mock drafts we've seen from everyone else, it really doesn't seem to click here. I'm going to take Jeremiah Love at 4. I think we've had this before as well. It should be Love or Bain as the pick. We'd prefer Bain, but if we're going to try to put ourselves in the shoes of going more realistic, I think it is a higher chance we were to see Love go at 4 than Bain, even if we don't agree that to be the case.
Yeah, I think you're You can't go wrong with Jeremiah Love. I think he's, a top two prospect, top three prospect in the class. Obviously, he's the number one overall running back. I don't know if Tennessee, I understand their need is listed as running back, but I feel like Pollard was serviceable and Spears was all right. I really don't know if Love is like needed, especially since they don't have the offensive line fully established. I'm not sure Love would be the smartest pick here, but I mean, you're getting a great talent, so that at the minimum, I guess, is fine.
It's just very odd. I think we saw Grant maybe Atlanta needed it more with Bijan. That's always the example I draw back to a few years ago. Is like they had Tyler Algier who did the job. Did they really need him? And it's turned out he's a center point, a focal point of this offense. Love with Cam Ward, a couple of young guys running the show in Tennessee could work. Like I said, if I was making the pick, I'd go Bain. I mean, I am making the pick, but if I were to go based on what should happen or what I would want to see happen, I would go Bain. But realistically, it's got to be Love or I don't know. I mean, you said offensive line. I still feel like based on this O line class, I don't know if there's Malagoa. I don't know if he's really truly a top five talent.
Yeah, I would second that. I don't have him as a top five player in the class. He's clearly the best, offensive lineman in the class, but taking him at four still feels a little high, which, as you alluded to earlier, we did discuss moving them down to 12, swapping with Dallas. But
Yeah, don't be surprised on draft night if Tennessee is involved in making a move down, just because based on how our board is has looked, this is a very similar to Arizona. Why we had them moving out, it's a very odd position for them to be in. New York at five, JP. They now have two picks in the top 10, 5 and 10 in this draft. They're going to get a lot better on Thursday night.
yeah, they are. And it's going to start with them taking Caleb Downs, who I have as the second best player in this class. You're getting a blue chip safety prospect, the best we've seen since Hamilton, and truly arguably the best safety prospect ever. Uh, I think we've gotten to a point with Caleb Downs where it's prospect fatigue. We've been talking about him since he was a freshman at Alabama now, and here we are 3 years later, and he's still being talked about. And I've seen people talk about how this would be too high to take uh, Downs, and how the Giants really don't need a safety, but at the same time, we're talking about one of the best safety prospects, if not the best of all time. I don't think there's a bad spot to take Downs. You're getting an absolute game changer if you take Caleb Downs at five.
It's just the need, right? New York desperately needs help in their secondary. There's no denying that. It's not just because of the talent, it's because of how good of a football player he is and how badly they need someone to be an anchor on the back end. It's a great fit. I think it might be the best fit in terms of where he could go early on in this first round. A slam dunk pick for the Giants, and they're only going to get better when they add again at number 10. Dallas at 6, we have them moving up, and part of our discussions where you would think Dallas moves up based on what the top four looks like. They're guaranteeing themselves one of Caleb Downs or the guy we're going to take here, his collegiate teammate from Ohio State in Sonny Styles. Dallas needs linebacking help. We've had them at 12 and 20. There really hasn't been a linebacker in that range that we feel comfortable giving them. So we've gone edge rusher despite adding Rashawn Gary this offseason and going corner as well. They added a couple of veteran corners to kind of duct tape this secondary together. I mean, who knows? They still have the 20th pick, so we'll see where we're going to have them go, whether it is edge or corner once we get there based on the board. But they need linebacker more than anything. There wasn't a guy like Styles in that range that made sense based on their pick, but they now move up to get him here at 6. I think they're happy with Downs or Styles, and they're going to get rewarded based on their big board.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if this was the actual scenario and they came up at 6 with Bane staring at him in the face. I'm still curious if they would go Styles. I am of the belief that they would go Styles, but knowing that they, had trouble rushing the pass from the outside last year, and I mean Rashawn Gary's obviously not what he once was in terms of a pass rusher. It would be curious, or I would be curious to see if Styles is the pick. I'm sure he would be, but I just think I don't. There's something about Sonny Styles just wearing the star that I can picture perfectly
Yeah,
clear
he's a
right now, and
cowboy.
yeah, and Jerry Jones just getting super excited about it in the press conferences, and when all that draft war room clips come out after the draft, I could just see Jerry getting overly excited about Styles.
Yeah, we look at the way he tested his traits physically, they really jump off the page, and it would make all the sense in the world for him to be a Dallas Cowboy. 7 here with Washington, JP. We've had them go a couple of different directions. Jeremiah Love's been a common pick here. I believe if Love doesn't go to Tennessee and he's still around at 7, I do firmly believe that's the pick for the Commanders, but he's not on the board for you.
Yeah, and there's two things staring me in the eye. They need defensive line help bad, really bad. They need some edge play, and Ruben Bain is staring at me. But with that said, I'm gonna do the complete opposite of what I just hyped up. I'm gonna give them Carnell Tate, which I know makes things a little more difficult for you at 8, I guess, because Tate seems to be the pencil in guy at for the Saints there. But they need wide receiver help. I think that Jordan Tyson would fit in this spot better. I think Lemon would fit in this spot better. But the Ohio State, brother in between McLaurin and Tate, I don't think they pass that up. I'm sure a lot of NFL teams have Tate as the number 1 overall wide receiver, drafting the helmet kind of thing. But I think Tate would slot in and instantly give them a boost in their wide receiver room, which I think listed right now off the top of my head without looking at a depth chart. I believe the last time I looked, Treylon Burks is listed as the wide receiver 2 in Washington. So this would be an immediate upgrade.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Say what you want about Traylon Burks, a former first round pick. The guy definitely has not panned out to what he has wanted to be, what he was expected to be at the NFL level. I think with Washington, it's a weird case. You are right. It is Burks. It is Burks, McLaurin, then De'Ame Brown, Jalen Lane, Nick Nash is in there as well. It's a bunch of names and no names that are elite. You need someone outside of Terry. I think a receiver makes sense here. You mentioned Bain, defensive line makes sense. If Love's there, really, it's a good spot for Washington to be in. We talk about, I guess we should never say never, but teams trading in picks. I do not think they should trade. I do not think they will trade 7. They're in a good spot. They're going to get someone that not only is a great football player, but that fits a need. They're not going to be like a Arizona or Tennessee where they're picking in a high spot, but based on what their roster desires, it might be a reach going here. Not sure if this guy makes sense at this pick. They go if they were to go Tate, Bain, or Love at 7. I think all of us say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's good value, and not that values everything in the draft. You got to go get your guy regardless of where you're at, but within reason as well. That would make a lot of sense. I was eyeing up Tate at number 8 for New Orleans, but I was also eyeing up somebody else. So this works out. I was going to go one way or the other, no matter who you went with. The Ruben Bain fall is going to end here. I'll have him going to New Orleans at number 8. Saints do need a receiver. That would make sense, but I also don't think they're going to turn down pass rushing help. They've been meh against the rush. I feel like it's been kind of up and down. Cameron Jordan still doesn't have a contract. Who knows what that future looks like there? Could you see him back with the Saints? Absolutely. But could you totally see him going somewhere else after the draft, depending on who picks what in the first couple of rounds, who really needs edge rushing help beyond this coming weekend for sure. I think it's a great fit here for New Orleans at number 8. He's an instant splash play. JP and I have raved about how much we love Ruben Bain as a talent this entire series of doing the mock draft. So having him as a top 10 pick should come as no surprise to any.
Yeah, it's something they obviously need. Chase Young on the other side, like you mentioned, Cam Jordan still doesn't have a contract. You're getting a top 3 overall player in this class at number 8. I don't even think should be a hesitation. Matter of fact, I think they should hope that the Redskins take Carnell Tate so then they can get handed Ruben Bain if this is how it works out in actuality. But yeah, Bain to New Orleans could be fun, and I can really, like I said with Styles, I can really just see Bain in the black and gold colorway.
Yeah, and I think honestly, this is how the board shakes out. If they have the option of Tate or Bain, they won't complain at all. I think they're gonna be in a fine position no matter what. This is the back end of the trade that we made to send Kansas City up to 3. JP, you get to make, I actually get to make all 3 selections as a result of this trade. The Cardinals at 9, and this board for them is kind of shifted. They need offensive line help. No offensive lineman has been taken. Is that the direction they go?
It is the direction they go. I know Maui Noah's in play at number 3. They really have backed their tackles, but they still need guards. So I think the worst or best case scenario, or I guess rather it'd be worst case scenario, depending how you look at it. But either way, Maui Noah comes in. He starts at guard in this 2026 season. You extend Paris Johnson. I'm blanking on who the other tackle is, but he walks next year. You move Maui Noah out tackle next year. You bolster up the offensive line this year, and yeah, if Maui Noah's in consideration at 3 and you get him all the way down at 9, I mean, that's an absolute home run. And you pick up another pick on top of that. I don't think anyone's going to complain in the Arizona War Room.
Yeah, like you said, if it's a guy they were originally going to pick early, you get another selection, you're making your team better, and you're going to add another guy at the end of the first day. We like him as a talent. I just don't think we like him as a top 3 pick. At 9, it's a lot more intriguing, and it makes significantly more sets. Rounding out the top 10, the Giants following the trade with Cincinnati. JP put this idea into my brain, and I'm thinking, man, where do I go at number 10? I've seen mock drafts with Caleb Downs falling all the way to 10, which makes no sense. He would still be a Giant in that situation. He's still a Giant here. We took him at number 5. Look at the receiving room for the Giants. They have Malik Neighbors coming off an ACL tear, and they signed Darnell Mooney. And reportedly, Odell Beckham's in their building as we're recording this right now, going through a physical today, which, holy blast from the past, he's 33 years old. They don't have much receiving depth unless you want to rely on Luke Hunley's favorite football player, Darius Slayton, and just all the other, mixed bag of guys that they have here. Jordan Tyson had him going at 9 to Kansas City in both of our first 2 mock drafts. He's an unbelievable talent. And man, imagine him lining up on the other side of a very healthy Malik Neighbors. That would create a great tandem with Darnell Mooney as your third receiver and the deep ball threat in that room. I mean, Giants fans just salivating over the idea of getting out of this first round with Jordan Tyson and Caleb Downs on their football team.
Yeah, I have Tyson as my fifth overall player in the or sixth overall player in the class. Sorry, number one overall receiver. If you're getting him down at 10, yeah, the only scary thing is you're taking Tyson into MetLife, and his biggest knock right now is the injury concerns. And now you have Neighbors coming off the ACL, so you got two air quote injury prone receivers playing at MetLife. That's always a scary thought. And then you add, he's reuniting with Cam Scatabo at the running back position. But yeah, Jordan Tyson, this is giving Dart every weapon to work with. We'll know by the end of this year if Dart's actually the guy or not.
He'll have no excuses, quite literally, zero excuses if this is how things shape out for the Giants. Another weird team here at 11. I think we could see Miami going in a bunch of different directions. We have them go defensive back in the first mock draft. Last mock draft, we have them going offensive line. Where do we have them go here?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough pick. I really am not sure what I'm going to do here. You have McCoy on the board. You have Delane on the board. You still have Lemon sitting there. The question is, are you going to get a better DB now and then take a wide receiver at 30? Or do you take a wide receiver now, take a DB at 30? Do you take a tackle now? Do you take a guard now? What's the play? This is a really weird spot. I know Delane is there. I personally would take McCoy over Delane, but I'm going to give him Spencer Fano. I think that Fano's the fact that he can play all 5 positions on the offensive line kind of helps narrow or broaden things, but also narrow things down for Miami. You can figure out where your biggest hole is. I know they have a gap at guard. I know they have a gap at center, and Fano can come in and play both those positions immediately. I know DB is a big need. Jeff Hafley, they never really had a superstar corner when he was in Green Bay, and even when Jair Alexander was there, he was barely playing. He was hurt, and then he was playing bad football. So I'm not sure what or how high Hafley values corner, but you definitely need to give Malik Willis an offensive line if you're going to be rolling him out there.
Yeah, I think offensive line ends up being the better route for them here based on the board and who's available. They need a lot. I mean, there's no denying that. They need much more than just one throw at it. And they do get another shot. They will be drafting again at 30, thanks to that trade for Jalen Waddle in Denver. It's a good way to start it, though. Fano's a good tone setter, whether he works outside or inside long term. You're getting a guy who we believe is going to be a real durable starter up front for many years to come in this league. I get to make both picks in terms of the Dallas Cleveland swap here at 6 and 12. An interesting spot. We look at the board in terms of wide receivers. Mekhi Lemon, Omar Cooper, and company are all still there. But how much do they value the offensive line? And we look at the offensive tackles on the board. Monroe Freeling's a project. We've had a really tough time trying to figure him out in this class as to where he goes. I really don't think he's the play here for Cleveland. I think for a guy they need to plug and go with right away, we've had Freeland go to LA at 13. We've had him go in the 20s to a team like Philly and others. I think that's definitely the better spot for him. I'm going to go tackle here, but I'm going to take a guy who's been rising up the board. Give me Caden Proctor here out of Alabama. This guy's stock has been all over the place. We've seen him be in the 20s out of the first round into the teens. This might be one of the highest spots you see Proctor go, but I think he's one of the more NFL-ready tackles in this class, and he'll be ready to plug and play day one out in the dog pound.
Yeah, I think it was a couple days ago, a couple of weeks ago. I really don't remember, but I just know that there was a mock that was circulating that, or maybe it wasn't even a mock. It could have honestly just been a rumor that the Browns were interested at taking Proctor all the way up at 6. So if there was any validity to that and they move down to 12 and still get their guy at Proctor, by no means is that a bad pick. I have Proctor as the offensive tackle 4. I still have him as a first round player at number 20 in the class. So while this would be a little high for me, I still think he's worth the first round pick and would have no issues if they go Proctor.
Yeah, it's just a weird spot. Like I think Freeling is probably a better pick, but I don't trust the development there at all. He's getting thrown into the fire. Who knows how that's going to work out? Yeah, I think the safer play is Proctor for sure. Despite all our moves, we don't have LA going anywhere. We still have the Rams sticking at 13 with this pick from Atlanta. They moved their last pick to KC in exchange for Trent McDuffie, which is now in possession of the Cardinals through this mock draft. A lot of options for the Rams here, JP at 13.
Yeah, and I'm really torn. I like the Freeling idea that you went with last time. I'm also looking at Lemon and Cooper here. Um, I honestly really just don't even know. This is going to be a split second decision. I'm going to give him Freeling. I no basis behind it. I think they could go with a wide receiver. You know, Adams is definitely hanging it up after this year. He signed that 2-year deal last offseason with the Rams. Said after that contract was over, he was hanging it up. I think he's going to stick true to that. I think he hangs it up. So I think it would make sense to go with Lemon or Cooper, but I think taking Freeling now helps your whoever is the replacement for Matt Stafford in the future. I trust the Rams development. You're getting a guy who's possibly going to be an okay starter this year, but long term, he's going to be your rock at right or left tackle, depending on who the quarterback is after Stafford.
His frame is unreal. I mean, you look at the guy physically, and it screams. If you can develop him the right way, it screams future star, franchise cornerstone tackle with Freeling. And he comes from a place in Georgia where he knows how winning football is played, and he knows how to win at a high level. It's just about getting him polished, getting him around the right guys. And there's no doubt that Los Angeles and the Rams and this front office, this coaching staff is a great place for him to get even better and take that next step into his professional career. This is our final pick that we'll make before we head to our first intermission here in the 3.0 mock draft edition of the Just Beavin podcast. The Ravens at 14, we've had them go guard, we've had them go wide receiver. I'm going to get a wide out here. Let's get Makai Lemon off the board at 14. I could see either route, but honestly, we look about uniforms and guys who make sense. They need help at receiver. The Ravens do very badly. I don't think I trust the group that they have now. If they don't take Lemon or someone else in round one, I definitely think day two they're going to take a receiver that they're going to have to give a high role to right away. But this is just a really good talent to get here toward the middle of the first round.
Yeah, exactly what you said. I don't trust anyone in that room. Even Flowers had a pretty down year last year, had a lot of drops. I had Makai Lemon as wide receiver 2, ninth overall player in the class. They're getting him at 14. I think that or guard is the pick here. Lemon, if Lemon falls right here, though, it'd be hard for them to pass him up. I think him and Flowers in the same room both can do so much with the ball in their hands after the catch. It would be a lot of fun. Would certainly fit the vibe that they have out in Baltimore.
And trying to make that next step, get Lamar Jackson in the position to win a Super Bowl. Our 15th overall pick, the Tampa Bay Bucks, will be coming up on the other side of this intermission right here on the Just Beavin podcast. Picking up right where we left off, the Bucks on the clock at 15 with JP. Literally seconds ago, before we started recording, JP, we talked pretty frequently about how not super exciting of a pick this is for Tampa. We've had them take two different edge rushers. It was Mesidor and Cassius Howell. Howell was in 1.0. Mesidor was in our last draft. Do you have him sticking along the lines there, staying in the front 7 with this pick at 15?
No, I'm honestly torn right now between Vega and one of the two corners. I'm just gonna give him Delane here. I think that if Delane were to fall this far, they need. I don't know if they necessarily like need secondary help, but outside of Jacob Parrish last year, who was a rookie and also played primarily in the slot, Benjamin Morrison was simply just okay. He wasn't anything like game breaking or anything. And then the other one's Zion McCollum, since Jamal Dean went to Pittsburgh. So I think that there's an argument to be made that they do need corner. I think if Delane falls, he fits the Bulls system a little bit better than McCoy does.
I think there's an argument to be made too that regardless of how the board shapes out, they go corner edge round 1 and 2, no matter the order in this draft. They need the help on the defensive side of the ball for sure. Offensive side of the ball is a bit more stable, despite losing Mike Evans in free agency to San Francisco on that weird contract. I still think between McMillan and Egbuka and Godwin, they're going to be just fine with receivers. They also paid Kate Otten to come back. Maybe they draft a receiver a bit later on, unless I'm missing someone. They didn't sign a receiver, to my knowledge. That was of any major name value. Maybe they signed a depth guy. Either way, I don't
They
think that's a
signed
big
David
issue.
Sills.
Former the USC quarterback commit when he was 13 years old, legend David Sill. So yeah, I think they're just fine at receiver. If they want to add a guy, they can do so. Maybe at the back end of day two, early day three, throw a fire at somebody. But I think Jalen McMillan can come back and be a real nice player for them. And they don't have to worry about really the offensive side of the football. It's going to be all defense, kind of like our Chicago Bears, is their focus, trying to fill in holes and get better. And corner's fine with me here at 15. I think corner, then edge, or edge, then corner is going to be the route they go in the first and second round. Second pick here for the Jets at 16. I get to make both Arvell Reese at number 2 out of Ohio State, the linebacker edge hybrid, however you want to refer to him as, has been our pick. And now all three drafts. I'm going to have wide receiver be the play here for the Jets, and I'm going to have them take a guy that JP is very familiar with, and Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. This guy's a lock for the first round. I think you can make an argument he's a lock for the top 20 at this point with how we've seen his stock go and what is a relatively interesting receiver class. I think you list the top three as Tate, Tyson, and Lemon. I even see mock drafts where Cooper's going above Lemon, so I'm not going to say that he's going to be the fourth receiver off the board, but Cooper should be in the top 20, all things considered, and it's a pretty good fit in New York.
Yeah, I think of, the big six receivers here. If the four you mentioned and then add on Concepcion and Boston, I think Cooper probably has the biggest risk reward out of all of them besides maybe Boston. I think the thing with Cooper is you worry a little simply because Surratt outplayed him, and Surratt by no means is a blue chip NFL prospect. We've seen what Cooper can do though. He's obviously has all the tools. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, granted, he's going to the Jets here, so he's not going to have to be the primary number one wide receiver. But if he does end up going to a different team, I'll be very intrigued to see if Cooper is capable of being his own number one. But I think his skill set fits perfectly with Garrett Wilson's, and this would be a great fit for whoever the Jets take in 2027, whether it be Arch or Dante Moore or whatever it ends up being.
How funny would it be if they end up getting more anyways after he basically avoided them at number 2 in the draft this year? Cooper could play really well off of Garrett Wilson. The Lions at 17, we've had them go edge, we've had them go tackle, if my memory serves correct, kind of all over the board. Offense or defense here, JP?
Yeah, I'm probably going to stick on the offensive side of the ball here. I think if this guy's here and available, this would absolutely be a kick in the balls per se. I have him as my eighth overall player on the board. You'd no longer have to watch Christian Mahogany if you're Lions fans. I think they take Vivega here. You're getting an absolute stud beast. I know it's not popular to take offensive guards in the first round, but they almost always hit. They're if you're a first round projected guard, I think they hit at like a 96% rate or something like that. I
It's a
mean,
safe
it
play. Yeah.
yeah, it's extremely hard to miss on guards because they're just that much better. You see it on tape, you see it to their counterparts. If they're a first round guard, it's usually not because they're a project guy or they have all the tools or that they just need to put it together. It's because they're complete. It's because they dominate on their tape, and Vivega does that. You'll no longer have to watch Christian Mahogany. I think Vivega here would be that would suck as a Bears fan, but it would be a great pick for the Lions.
Mahogany is so awful. That like
Horrible.
in like the most respectful way possible. That dude is pretty awful at the game of football. And yeah, that'd be a great pick. No questions asked for Detroit. And as Bears fans, we'd be kicking ourselves. And I think as Bears fans, we're going to be kicking ourselves at what I'm going to have Minnesota do here at 18. Run it back with Dylan Thieneman. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Continues to impress. This guy is going to be a stud at the next level. Everything you could say, all the compliments and more. Still looking to find more adjectives to describe his game. He makes big plays. Yeah, he can, you know, be the guy to pick it off late. He can lay the boom. He can be a big hitter. Can play up in the box if you need. He's all over the board. This is like we've said it before, a perfect Harrison Smith replacement. The waiting for the next decade for the Vikings if they can get him here at 18.
Yeah, I have Thieneman as the 13th best player in the class, number two safety. If we're talking about Downs, as I mentioned earlier, like blue chip best safety prospect possibly ever. I mean, Thieneman cracks the top 10 of that list too. If Downs wasn't in this class, we'd be talking about Thieneman as a top 12 pick in this class. Yeah, Thieneman is a stud. His combine was unreal. The tape's unreal, and now he'll get to be in the Flores defense, where they'll just let him flourish, roam the field, and God, that these back-to-back picks would suck if they happen. Thank God Green Bay doesn't have a first-round pick. I can't stand having to make
Yeah.
picks for our whole division.
And they'd be making him in a 3 out of 4 pick stretch. The Green Bay would be picking at 20, but instead, that's Dallas. We've had a couple of the 19th pick with Carolina. You went with Jacob Rodriguez as kind of our shocker pick in the first mock draft. I took Kenyon Sadiq at 19 in our second mock draft. They're both on the board here in our third mock draft. Do we run back one of those options?
Yeah, I'm between Sadiq or Concepcion here. I have no belief in Leggett, unfortunately.
Come
Sorry
on.
to, sorry to, sorry to bring that up. I'm not sure. I'm not sure they have much belief left in him. This will probably be the last year he gets any run. But I think what saves Leggett his job one more year. The only way that they go receiver here is I think if Cooper's on the board because Cooper can play a little more outside. What's saving Leggett his job is the fact that undrafted free agent and Beaverfest loyalist follower Jalen Coker is actually a beast at his job in the slot, and
Shout out Jalen.
I think Concepcion's going to have to be primary slot receiver, and so that'll save Leggett's job for at least one more year. I think you get Kenyon Sadiq here, you bolster Bryce Young, give him every weapon he can possibly have. We'll really figure out if the problem's Canales or if it's Bryce Young this year. Sadiq, easily a first round talent, one of the most athletic tight ends I think we've possibly ever seen at the position. The college production isn't there, but obviously the tools are. And honestly, the Oregon offense this year was just kind of anyways. So could be a product of that. But Sadiq's a stud, and this could be a really fun real life pairing, but a not so good Beaver Fest fantasy pairing.
It's been 3 straight years of the pass catcher in the first round. It's Carolina. You mentioned Leggett in 24, McMillan last year. And they haven't ruled out taking a true wide receiver here at 19. I just don't think they do that. I think Sadiq is a perfect fit in terms of what they're looking for. But yeah, as you mentioned, we're a fantasy football podcast. Shout out Beaverfest, Beaver.fest on Instagram to tune in. We'll be posting some stuff. These guys are going to go live for the draft on Thursday night. I unfortunately have a game, so I will not be able to join unless Mother Nature blesses us with some rain. And then maybe I'll make an appearance at some point, one way or another. But yeah, it's for all our followers. We know that our rookie draft coming up in a month's a big deal. Where Sadiq's going to go in our league is a big deal, and who knows how that changes things if he is a Carolina Panther. Second pick in the first round here for Dallas. We have them moving up from 12 to 6, giving up future assets as well with Cleveland. We had them take Sonny Styles. I'm going to keep them on the defensive side of the ball here. This is a really good get for them here at 20 in terms of a guy falling. We mentioned a couple of veterans joining their secondary as kind of just holding things together. Jermon McCoy is going to really short things up. This is, in terms of, we're talking value, JP. This might be the best value pick we've had in the first round. You make the argument at edge rusher. There were edge rushers here, but I just cannot pass on McCoy at 20. Way, way too good to have him sitting there and not be a Cowboy.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know if this was an us problem or if this is the board's problem, but I mean, I have McCoy as my fifth overall player in the class, number one corner. If we were considering, uh, Delane at 12, when we held them at 12, I think we gave him Delane one of the times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
so
think we
now
gave him McCoy. It may have been McCoy or Terrell.
yeah,
Either way, we gave them one of the three at 12.
if you
So
can sit all the way at 20 and get McCoy, who I think is honestly, I think is eons better than Delane. Wow. I mean, Matt and Jack would have stuff to celebrate with this first round if this is how it went for them.
yeah, and as we mentioned, for those listening, thinking, "Oh, how do these guys not take this person there?" I think in every mock draft we've had a position fall. I know D tackle was a position that fell. I think it's falling again here in this mock draft. But a one draft might be more corner based in the top half, defensive tackle. O tackles are sliding. Things change. The board shifts. This isn't really indicative on these guys not being first round talents. They are. We see guys fall in the draft every year that probably shouldn't. It's just kind of based on the board and where the draft is going. And this draft has guys like Terrell and McCoy, who we think are really great talents, falling just a bit more. Pittsburgh here at 21 is rather intriguing. They could go a lot of different options
Yeah, this is another hard pick. I kind of feel like this is like Miami. Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. I do think Ty Simpson is in play here. I have a first round grade on Simpson. Uh, it's class specific, but I think Simpson could be in play here. I really do. I think they need offensive line play bad. I'm not sure anyone wants to watch Spencer Anderson or Mason McCormick get any reps. And honestly, I think Steelers fans are probably over Broderick Jones at this point. The problem is we've lost a lot of the good tackles, except Blake Miller, who I will be giving
Yep.
them. This absolutely solves the Broderick Jones problem. You can try him inside if you want. You can honestly try Blake Miller inside, and when you let Jones walk next year, you let that happen, and then move Miller back outside. I have Blake Miller as the tackle two in this class. I have him as a top 15 player in the class. I think this would be tremendous value for Pittsburgh, and I genuinely think Blake Miller comes in day one, and you have a franchise tackle.
Yeah, as you said, the Broderick Jones experiment has not gone according to plan. And I think, not saying we called this a few years ago, but I don't think either one of us were really high on Broderick
Mhm.
in the draft process. Great value again, back to back, really good value picks. I think Blake Miller is going to be a guy that goes in this 20 to 26 range that people are kind of like, whatever. But no, he might not be the most flashy guy. He might not be the guy who stands out the most in terms of this class, but I think it's another pick who the ceiling might not be as high, but the floor is extremely high, and you're going to get a guy who comes in from day one and is ready to roll. Clemson knows how to do that up front. He's going to be another example of that. I'm in a tough spot here with the Chargers at 22. Ione would have been the guy. I think interior offensive line is their biggest need. I just don't think there's anyone on the board that would justify them taking that here. I definitely think they're going to take a guard in day two, and the board might favor them a bit more. We look on the defensive line in terms of them and who they've lost. They lost Owe to Washington on that big contract. They bring back Khalil Mack, but he's entering his age 35 season. And what does that look like for the future? I think they need some help up front, and this is where Akeem Mesidor is going to go. It might not be their biggest need at the moment, but I think it's the guy that can help them the most while in terms of value being great. I wouldn't be shocked if this is how the board falls if the Chargers are on the phones trying to move back at all. I don't know who necessarily would want to move up to 22 given the state of the board right now, but I think Mesidor is a good fit. You talk about the helmet, I could see him repping the Charger bolt on his helmet on the other side of Khalil Mack, and who knows how long Mack has left in this game. And I know we're saying Mesidor is an older prospect; he'll be 25, but still, he's got a first contract in him, and I think the Chargers could definitely use that to their full advantage.
Yeah, this would be a tough spot for the Chargers if this is how the board fell. You could maybe talk about taking Pregnon here out of Oregon. Some people have first round grade on him. You could have gone anywhere with Mesidor, Falk, Howell, honestly McDonald, McNeil, Warren. This is just a weird spot. I think Mesidor works out here perfect. They're clearly trying to compete in the AFC West and just compete in the AFC overall. Justin Herbert still searching for that first playoff win, and I think Mesidor takes him closer to a playoff win than probably anyone else on the board would do, besides maybe Caden McDonald.
Yeah, and like we said, I thought about going Terrell, maybe go corner, but I don't know. It's a weird spot to be in terms of they could fill a lot of positional needs based on the talent that would fall at 22. We've had the Eagles go all over the place. I believe Monroe Freeling was our first pick in the 1.0 mock draft. If not, we've had them go line. I took Kendrick Falk there in the second mock draft, and I immediately regretted it after thinking they probably could have gone somewhere else. I just don't think JP and I are huge on Falk in terms of his inability to rush the passer, his pass rushing grades are not super high, and who knows where that mocks him out in the end. I'll pose the question to you, JP. What side of the ball are we looking at here for Philly?
We're looking at defense here. Instead of Falk, though, while my grade has dropped steadily on this guy, and I honestly would argue I don't even think he's worth a first round pick. If there was a team that could use a pass rush only guy, I think it's the Eagles. They have the offense or the defensive line play that can play, first, second down. You bring this guy in as a specialist on third down, extend the window. I'm going to give them Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M. I really do think his arms are shorter than Ruben Baines, and people don't seem to be
Crazy.
talking about it. People don't seem to be talking about it. So if we're going to make a big deal about Baines dropping, Bain from the top 3 to the 8 to 12 range. Howell's been mocked in this range the entire time, and he took no flack for having the short arms. I'm just saying, if you go back and watch 2024 Texas A&M versus LSU, Will Campbell absolutely dominates Cassius Howell, and on top of it, Will Campbell looked like he had long arms in that game. We get to the NFL, we see that's obviously a problem. Cassius Howell's going to come in. He's going to be a third. He's going to wherever he's going to go. He's going to be a pure pass rush specialist. It's not going to bring you much on first down, first and second down. And I think the Eagles are able to spare that. This will help bring a different element to their defense that they kind of lost over the last couple of years.
Do you think maybe he's not getting as much flack because of Bain being classified as more of a blue chip prospect? You know, him being a quote unquote top 10 guy. We have much higher grades on him, obviously. Do you think he maybe slips through the shadows because he's in that, maybe tier three, closer to tier four edge rusher in this class?
It easily could be. My one problem with that though would be I feel like Bane is farther away from, it's Bane and Bailey, and then there's a big gap between who people have as, if we're counting Reese, then Bane, Reese, and Bailey. But there's a big gap, I think, then from four on and down. I think that you could swap out, Howell for why would I take Howell in the first when I could take R. Mason Thomas or Romello Height later on, or even Malachi
Zion Young.
Lawrence? Yeah, like why would I take Cash Howell when I can get a pure pass rush specialist later on?
Yeah.
Would be my biggest argument for against Howell. I've kind of lowered on Howell after watching some of his 2024 tape. But I think if there was a team that was able to take him and take the risk on him, it's Philly.
I feel like we say that a lot. Oh, this guy doesn't work in scenario X, Y, and Z. But if it's Philly,
If
sure,
it's
why
Philly,
not?
yeah.
It's just a weird way for them to kind of make things happen. So Howell at 23 opens up Cleveland here at 24. I had them at 12 in that trade back with Dallas, going Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle board. If you look at our tackle board right now, I think that's actually the wiser decision. I was sitting there as we were going through like the teens and into the early 20s, thinking, man, did I make a mistake? I guess, how do you say Maxon's last name?
I
Hankador?
Hanacher. I
Ihanacher?
Hanacher.
I'm seeing a lot of him. He's a great talent, especially in this range. So he would be a good spot here at 12 to Cleveland. But if you look at, maybe I could have gone Lemon and then take Max here at 24, whatever. But I think it's partially because, like you said, that report that came out on Proctor potentially going as high as 6 to Cleveland, which would be insane. If the Browns are so high in Proctor in this trade back scenario, they're not going to pass on him at 12, where it would make more sense to take him. He would not be here at 24. I'd be pretty confident in the fact that Proctor is well off the board by the time the 24th pick rolls around. If we look at our receiver options, though, there are a few guys still here. So it looks like I may have made the better decision in taking the tackle first. I'm going to take Casey Concepcion here at 24 to Cleveland. I know that might be a little controversial. Denzel Boston is probably seen as the better prospect. I think Casey Concepcion is the better fit, though, on the outside for this group moving forward. There's better options on the board in terms of other players, but I really do think they need another guy to be out there to catch the football in this offense. We've seen this receiver group struggle over the years, and they need a big time guy. We've had them stay at 6 and take the likes of Carnell Tate already in this draft. We don't know if Tate will even be there, and obviously, if they move down, he won't be available. They need to get a pass catcher in the first round, and I think Concepcion is the best option in terms of their fit here at 24.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on whether I have Cooper at wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 5 in this class. As it sits right now, I have Concepcion as the wide receiver 4. There's just something about him. He was so good when he was at NC State. He went to A&M, and it was just kind of different offense, which I think hurt him as a wide receiver. But you're getting an elite returner, just baseline floor. If he's nothing else, you're getting Rashid Shaheed plus all the actual upside that comes with Concepcion. This would be an absolute boom pick for Cleveland at 24.
Back to back Aggies at 23 and 24, leading into our Chicago Bears, which JP gets to make the pick for here at 25. We've had talks just texting about how we wouldn't mind if the Bears got out of the first round. And honestly, if this is how the board were to shake, I would really hope someone's on the phone trying to come up, and I would gladly take an extra asset in the future, whether it's in this draft or another, to drop back a few spots based on what's available. We've gone defensive line. We've gone secondary. There's no doubt this pick needs to be on the defensive side of the football. It's just a matter of where we go.
Yeah, and if it was me in this position, I would probably be taking TJ Parker, in all honesty. Honestly, I'd even be considering Avion Terrell, but I'm going to do what I think the Bears are going to do. I'm going to give us Caden McDonald. I just think it's something we clearly needed to address last season. Teams ran all over us. We were unable to stop the run at all. We're getting our secondary back healthy now, so I think that's less of an issue. I know we still need that second safety spot. I feel like this is a relatively deep-ish safety class where we can look at it in day two. I know the D tackles, might still be there, but I really think, between 25 and 50, we're going to see all five of those big name D tackles go. I'm not sure if they'll still be there on the board for us at 57. I think Poles wants to get the guy right now, the pure run stopper, and McDonald at 25.
It's not our favorite pick. I think in our Bears group chat, we have voiced that many times that it wouldn't be our favorite pick. Is it a bad pick? No. Is it as exciting as we'd want it to be? No. It's a good problem to have, right? Being in this spot, if this is how the board shakes out. I would want McNeil Warren as well. I've been very much on the record on this podcast and just in general saying how much of a big time player he would be for this secondary, how perfect he'd fit this defense. But you know what, JP, you and I talked about this. At the end of the day, our football team's going to get better, and this is a guy who makes our team better. It just isn't the most exciting play, and sometimes that doesn't have to be. But yeah, it's about being strategic and moving around. I know you've said this. I for one would want to move down in this spot. I think if we were to move down 4 or 5 picks, McDonald's is a chance he's still there. If not, Peter Woods, McNeil Warren. I love TJ Parker. We've all loved TJ Parker in this process. I just don't think he's going to be a Bear, which is really, really unfortunate. Buffalo at 26. They need a lot. They can go all over the board. We've had them go linebacker. We've had them stay on the D line at edge to try and figure some things out. I'm just going to go best player available, and they need help at linebacker. I'm going to give them CJ Allen. Similar situation to the Bears. Of there's a lot of positions they could really go to on the defensive side of the football, but I'll just shore up their second level and take a guy like Allen, similar to Freeling coming from Georgia, even though on the opposite side of the football. Guy knows how to win. Guy played in the SEC, and he's someone who instantly will go in and make that Buffalo defense a lot better.
Yeah, we've been talking about them taking a linebacker for a while. I'm sure it's a pretty popular pick at this point. While it's not exciting, you're getting someone who can instantly come in, wear the green dot, and certainly shores up what was kind of a shaky group last year for Buffalo.
Another interesting spot here at 27, we've also seen the Niners in our drafts go tackle. We've had them go edge rusher. There is a tackle option here. There's also plenty of edge rushing options here. There's going to be a lot of edge rushers that get out of the first round, at least in this hypothetical draft, that people are going to say, wow, that definitely shocks us.
Yeah, the woke up this morning to the news of Trent Williams coming back to San Francisco with the extension this morning. So while I think they honestly could take Ihanicher, who needs a little bit of time to develop, I think they're going to kick that can down the road a little bit and go out and get a pass rusher. They bring in Raheem Morris, correct? If I'm not mistaken, Raheem Morris is now their
I think you're
defensive
correct.
coordinator.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to go out and they're going to get someone who instantly can come in and rush the passer. Unfortunately, I don't think that's Keldrick Folk, but I do think that's TJ Parker. You're getting a guy who's probably going to come in with a floor of 8 sacks. I think his upside. I don't think Parker's ever going to be a game breaker who's getting you 17 sacks a season, but I think you always have a safe floor, kind of like a better version of Leonard Floyd. He'll always be between like 18 and 14 sacks. He's great against the run and working opposite of Bosa. That could be absolutely electric.
Yeah, Parker's going to be a great pro. I don't think we've denied that. The ceiling's not going to be super high, but I think it's like you said, consistency. It's steady Eddie. You really know what you're going to get from him pretty much at all times, and there's not going to be nothing more, nothing less. I think he'd be a really good fit in San Francisco. Raheem Morris is going to love to get his hands all over that and get to work on that as a part of his pass rushing group. We've had Houston go D tackle. Obviously, Caden McDonald's off the board. That's a pretty popular pick at 28. I'm going to have them go D tackle as well. And I'm going to go a little bit outside the box. If we go to our available D tackles, there's quite a few on the board here remaining at pick 28 in the opening round, just based on where things are at this very moment. And you look at Caleb Banks, Peter Woods. People worried about Banks with his foot. He re-injured his foot. Woods would be a good pick here. Lee Hunter as well. Christian Miller is going to be my pick, though. We haven't had him go here yet. I think he makes a lot of sense for this Houston defense. Just trying to spice things up, change things up here in the first round. Either way, a D tackle, anything interior up front. We've talked at large about Daniil Hunter getting that big extension for 1 year, $40 million on the outside. Him and Will Anderson. There's no doubt they have the edge rushing taken care of. They need someone up front. Every board that we've had has had a lot of D tackle options available for them at 28. They won't need to move anywhere. If anything, they could probably move back and pick up an extra draft selection and still be good at D tackle. Just changing things up. I'll take Miller here for them at 28.
Yeah, I think Miller fits. This is going to be this defense. I'm not. No one's going to want to play this. These quarterbacks are going to be running for their life. I mean, you got Hunter Anderson now, Miller out there. Jesus, I mean they're going to be feisty. Plus, D'Amico Ryans is one of the best defensive minds in the games. I think regardless if any you go any of the 5 D tackles here, I think they all make sense, and so I have no issue with Christian Miller here. I think all 5 D tackles are worthy of a first round pick.
And we go to 29, second selection, the final part of the trade. We had the Cardinals acquiring picks 9 and 29 from Kansas City for the third overall choice. And JP, they got a pretty good defensive board available to them. We've had them go tackle at 9 with Mawagoa. Do they pair him up with a defensive player here toward the back end of the first round?
They do, and honestly, I honestly did not expect the board to fall like this, so things have gone a little bit out of my plan, but I'm still going to stick to what I originally was going to go with. I will say if Terrell is here, I easily could see them taking Avion Terrell here. They need some corner help opposite of Will Johnson. Melton has not panned out for them. And honestly, ENW could be in play here. Buda Baker isn't really even a safety at this point anymore. He's more of a nickel slash linebacker. So EMW could totally be in play here. But part of the reason we made this trade, I think it makes sense for them, is I think Ty Simpson goes in the first round. I think whether it's a team trading up to get him, and so that's how we just kind of saw it. They trade with the Chiefs and acquire that pick that they would, otherwise they'd be moving up from. They pick here at 34 or 35. They'd just be moving up from 35 to 29 if we don't make that deal. But I think that deal works for both teams. They come up. They don't have to play Ty Simpson right away. I think Ty Simpson is capable of being an NFL quarterback. I think it makes sense now. You get your quarterback, you get him on a fifth-year option, and now you can start addressing all the other problems over the next couple of drafts with your quarterback already addressed.
Yeah, Simpson's a really, really interesting case in terms of you didn't really see what you wanted necessarily from him toward the end of his Alabama career and of his collegiate career, but there's a lot more in the tank without a doubt in terms of what he is fully capable of. It's interesting. It's a kind of mix and match and see, what things will look like moving forward out there in Arizona. They would have wanted, a Dante Moore or someone of a higher caliber at third overall if that was available to them, but it wasn't. And that's just not where they were sitting at this time. And they just, couldn't get into that position. Here at 29, I think it's good value. And especially if they're moving back into the first round to kind of be in that spot. They come out of here very much victorious, not knowing what they were going to do at 3, if they're going to reach on a guy like Malagoa, go defensive end. Instead, they get Malagoa at 9 while picking up, a dart throw at a quarterback for their future. I like this a lot here in Simpson at 29. 30th overall. This is the pick that Miami acquired along with other draft selections in the Jalen Waddle trade. We've had them go defensive back at 30, primarily the cornerback room. They need a lot of help over there. And this is a slam dunk pick. Avion Terrell's fall is going to end here, and they would be jumping for joy if this is their selection here at number 30. It helps a ton in every stretch of the imagination. Where do we have them going at 11 originally? It was tackle, right? If my
Bono,
memory
yeah.
serves correct, Fano. So they get out of here with Fano, a really good prospect on both sides of the ball, really reaping the benefits. And man, this would be fantastic for Miami if they could get Terrell, who we have some have as the cornerback 2, many have as the cornerback 3 in this class.
Yeah, I have both those guys as top 20 players. So if they could walk out with both of them, that would be absolutely electric. It would almost feel redundant, if they traded Waddle for the 30th pick and then, if Concepcion's here, use it on him or use it on Boston. I feel like both of them are probably worse than Waddle is. So that would feel like almost a waste of a trade if that's what they plan to do with it. You take using it on Terrell though, that feels like a good spending of money. I think Terrell does fit what Halfley does. He likes long corners. Uh, Terrell's a little bit longer than Delane. That's my biggest concern with Delane to Miami is that he's just not very long. But I think Terrell would fit perfectly in this Halfley system.
And then get another receiver in the second round. I mean, this is a class where you were texting me and preaching about how you love the depth of this receiving class. They can go get a playmaker. They need help outside. There's no doubt about it. But just because they need help out there doesn't mean they need to use a first round pick. We've seen guys in the second day. There's a lot of value, and this is a deep class. I don't know how many first round grades do you have in this class. I think I've seen people have up to 45 first round grades in this
I-
draft class.
I'm at 36 is where I
Yeah.
settled.
So there's good value to be had all throughout. The defending AFC champions, JP, your final pick in the New England Patriots. Once again, the world is their oyster here at 31.
Yeah, we've seen the clips of the workout with Vrabel and Ihanacher. I've said it on here multiple times. Uh, Campbell is probably not the long-term answer at tackle. I think Maxi Ihanacher works out perfectly here. You get your long-term tackle, and I do think Ihanacher has, top 10 upside in this class, but his floor is obviously low. There's a lot to work on there. But the flashes were definitely on tape, which is why I feel a little bit better about Ihanacher than I do Freeling, because at least with Ihanacher you saw high reps on the tape. Where Freeling, it's pure profiling. We're purely projecting what he can be. If they were to get Ihanacher at 31, I think they'd be exuberant.
I love his frame. I think he's got a really good frame, and I think he fits for a winner. In terms of similar to Freeling, we talk about development. Probably doesn't need as much development as Freeling in terms of just getting caught up to speed, but definitely wouldn't hurt going to a situation like this. This is going to be a slam dunk pick here for Seattle to close out the first round. They lost Kobe Bryant in free agency to the Bears, and they're going to get Emmanuel McNeil-Warren here at 32. I mean, this is just about as good as it gets for the defending Super Bowl champs. You could go corner. I think if I went elsewhere at 30, I could have taken Terrell at 32. You could see Colton Hood going at 32, but man, I don't think they're going to be complaining at all if they get EMW to round out the first round.
No, not at all. That would be a great pick for them. And I think the other thing with them is they're another one of those teams like the Eagles at this point where it's like, okay, what do they even need? I think Jadarian Price at 32,
I've
which
seen
would
that. Yeah.
yeah, it would be a probably a chronic overdraft. He's probably closer to like the 50th best player in the draft, but I mean, if they need a running back, they can take him. EMW makes sense here. They could draft another offensive lineman. They could draft another edge player. They really can go anywhere they want because they're so sound all over the board. But yeah, losing Bryant and then getting EMW to replace him, I think would be perfect for them.
There you have it. Our final mock draft prior to Thursday's mock draft. This is 3.0. It's always fun getting to do all this. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on our picks and the couple of trades that we made, having Casey and Dallas move up into the top 6 and the top 3. And just let us know. Beaver.fest on Instagram if you want to reach out. As I mentioned, we'll be getting a post out next couple of days. JP, Zippy, and the Beav will be going live on draft night. The four of us got to do it last year. It was a ton of fun just to hang out and talk about the draft live in real time. I'll be missing that a lot this year. I know you guys will have a lot of fun, though, and absolutely crush that. And we'll get to enjoy. I hope to be able to tune in where I can. And hey, like I said, if Mother Nature has some plans out here in Northeast Indiana on Thursday, would definitely not mind jumping on and joining you guys in watching the draft. JP, before we let everyone go, your final thoughts on our final mock draft and just getting ready for Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, no final thoughts on the mock. Just excited for Thursday. Honestly, it's like the one thing driving me through this week. I start finals next week, so this is like the calm before the storm. I get to really relish in the draft these next, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then I'm back to reality. But no, I'm absolutely pumped.
We thank you as always for tuning in all off season. We'll have more great content coming your way throughout the summer. Our fourth annual Beaverfest rookie draft. Can't believe we're saying that. Fourth rookie draft. It's coming up in just about a month. Beaver.fest on Instagram. Stay tuned for all the fun updates and everything good. We appreciate your support as always. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you next time here on the Just Beavin podcast.